Okay, Ruben?
Yes,
Okay, I assume that because of the weather, you didn't walk over, right?
no.
That was the reason, right?
Yes,
You and the missus are okay, right?
yes. It was when I was getting ready to leave, it was pouring, so
Okay. We'll do the best we can today. I found today's Gemara a little bit problematic.
Welcome to the real world.
What?
Welcome to the real world. My guy will get us first. You'll make sure.
Not the Gemara that's problematic, our understanding.
Jeff, bring the bigger cup. It's too small. Yeah, who do you think I'm your shadow?
The shadow knows, don't you know? That used to be a window years ago.
Look, I told you, it's a whole girl.
Oh, man. Okay,
What if I should be back, right?
Wednesday.
How about the movie? The rain kept her away, is it?
The rain kept him away this morning. But all right, today is the 17th. All right, we've got our learning sponsors. We'll get started as hopefully some more of the crew comes in. A year of learning Isaac and Evelyn Blachor in memory of his sister, Haya Rachel Bas Isser, friends of Leonie Meiserman, Sabra Bas Chanuk Zundel, friends of Melaskotsky, Moshe Zelig ben Mordechai, Martin Lippman and family in memory of his wife, Malka Chana Bas Pinchas, friends of Herb Jeremiah, Tzvi ben Zev, friends of Sam Coleman, Shmuel ben Yaakov, friends of Gideon Lazinski, Mordechai Shlomo ben Meir. A month of learning by the friends and students of Rabbi Shalom Kornblum, Rav Shalom ben Mordechai, Aaron and Mel Haller in memory of her father, Yosef Eliezer ben Tzvi Hirsch, Mark Scher in memory of his father, Mordechai ben Menachem Manos, Mark Linder in memory of his nephew, Eretz Paul ben Surlis, Susan and Ron Podolsky in memory of her father, Simcha Bunam ben Yeshua, and Judith Poretsky in memory of his mother, Rachel Bas Avram. A week of learning by Judy Iger in memory of her husband, Aaron ben Shlomo Michael. Judy Iger again in memory of her son, Anshel Yitzchak ben Aharon. Today being the 17th of the month, we have a day of learning by Florence Kirshner, husband Moshe ben Bav. Shamas have an aliyah, crank Rafia about the a good gebench. Okay, and we're keeping in mind today, Avrami, what's honor on your side for? Yeah. Dov Lemel ben Reb Meir. Okay. Don't hear the name Lemel much anymore. I don't. Well, but you've got isn't there a famous singer, a Hasidic singer? No? Not so. Okay. When do those students get their issue? Another year and a half. Those of us who are follically challenged, that's what we used to tell that to my grand. When, especially the girls, cut off their hair when they get a certain point to give it to me, and then one of their answers, but you know, Saba, the color isn't going to match. Okay, that's what grandchildren and great grandchildren are for. Oh, okay. I just want to go back a bit to Yudchet Amud Beis. Okay. We saw that there was some machloket there, whether you drash, whether you say zot, torat, okay, things like that, what the situation was. Okay. Okay, and the implication being there whether you had what we call double jeopardy, okay, that the same woman would have to, if she was involved in a potential sota situation with the same husband, okay, as part of a remarriage, that was the problem. That was part of the issue. So that's what we saw. By finishing up there, the ish echad u'bo'el echad huli amalo plige ze'ein ha'isha shota v'shona. That's what Rav is saying there. Okay, dichtiv, and now that brings us back to the top of Yud Tet, which is today's daf. Dichtiv zot, because it says zot, this, implying this woman, or more particularly this particular situation. B'shnei anashim or b'shnei boalim, in a situation where there are two husbands and two paramours, the chuli alma lo plige, like there too, everyone is not, there's no disagreement. The isha shota v'shona, that there in that case, right, the woman is subjected to another shota examination. Why? Because I would say, okay, and I didn't see a pshat in this, because it's with a different man, okay? And normally we would say, right, that when the husband warns her, it was with this particular person, okay? So that's the case. Dichtiv Torah, because there it says instruction. So I'm now on the third line of Yud Tet, Amud Aleph. Okay, I don't know if, I think Ted's going to be coming in. We'll see. Keep Ted. Okay, keep pligi, where they argue. In a situation where it was one husband, paramours. Okay, because I'm working the assumption that when he warns her not to have Mr. X. Okay, but he doesn't know, or later he finds out that she secluded herself, we'll say also for the moment, with Mr. Y. Okay. All right. Or he could have warned her twice. You have your pshat has that he warns her twice. Okay. I didn't see that in either Art Scroll or Koran. Okay. All right. So what happens there? B'sheinei anashim. Okay. Or where else do they have an argument? Okay. Where else is there a machloket? B'shnei anashim u'bo'el echad. Okay, where there are two husbands, okay, husband A or husband A and then later husband B, and it's the same paramour. Okay, maybe husband B heard from husband A.
However, I'm sorry, how do we get two husbands?
Okay, all right. It could be that the first husband either died or the first
Or
husband
divorced her.
Okay, either one or the other.
Right.
He still has the ability to ask.
No, in other words, he could, if he divorced her, he
Right.
could have said the reason, the second guy marries her, and he could tell him, the reason I divorced her was because she had an affair with Mr. Z.
But do those words have any meaning? Can they have any import?
Okay, so the second husband could then tell her, okay, I want to warn you not to have any interaction with Mr. Z. Okay, so that would clearly be a case of the second husband warning her about the same paramour. Okay, so that's I think that's the possibility here. Tanakama, Savar, Torat. So why do we have this difference? Okay, between some situations there's a machloket, and some situations there is no machloket. Okay, the answer the Gemara wants us to understand is depending upon, since we have two words, zot and Torat, okay, that we're darshaning, it depends on which of the two words you're putting more emphasis on. Okay, so what happens? Tanakama Savad, in the earlier case with Torah, Levribui Kulhai. Okay, that includes all of them. Zot lemuute ish echad uboel echad. That excludes the example of one husband and one paramour. V'Rabbanan Batrai Savre, and the later rabbis, what were they of the opinion? Zot lemuute kulhu. That excluded the other situations. Torah, there, that the Rebui Shnei Anashim Ushnei Boalim. Okay, that included, that's when you would have her have to do a second sota examination. Okay, gentlemen. Mhm. Okay. Yeah. Okay, right, Ushnei Boalim, right? You need the king or you got it? Okay, so two husbands and two paramours. So that's the second. So that's why some include one, some include the other. Rabbi Yehuda Zot lemeute tarte. He says, yeah, okay, that the darshaning Zot, meaning this, that includes that excludes two situations. Torah, when we say the fact that the pasuk included the words Torah, the Rabbot Tarte, that includes two situations, two examples. Okay? Zot Lamaute Tarte. What does he mean when he says Zot excludes two situations? What were they? Situation one, Ish Echad U'Bo'el Echad, one husband, one paramour. Ish Echad U'Shnei Bo'alim, one husband and two paramours. Torah, the fact that it says the instruction, okay, which therefore we said Torah Hakinamot, remember we pointed out that was more in plural, the Rabui Tarte, to include two. What are they? One of them is Shnei Anashim U'Bo'el Echad, two husbands and a single paramour. The other, Shnei Anashim U'Shnei Bo'alim, two husbands and two paramours. Okay, and so we finish Hadrana Lach Hayam Mevi. So we finish that period. Okay, all right. So that's the easy part of today's Gemara. Okay, all right. New piece. Okay, now I'm gonna quick intro and then we'll jump in. Remember we said that the husband handed her this container that was made out of palm bast, full of mincha, full of grain offering, meal offering, and she had to hold it. It was the Kohen. No, the husband handed it to her, okay? And then what's going to happen is the Kohen is they're supposed to do Hanifa. They're supposed to wave it, okay?
No.
No?
They do the Hanifa in a Klishores and not in the Kviva. So the husband hands it to her and she puts it in the Klishores and then they wave it.
We'll see. Okay, so from the meal,
the Kohen cannot wave it when it's not in the Klishores.
Right. We'll get to that in a second. Right. You're right. Okay, so what happened? She's holding it in this palm bast, right? Now, it's not sanctified. Okay, but she's holding it. Now it's going to get transferred from that palm basket, that palm container, to a temple utensil, the klisharis, right? Now it becomes sanctified. At this point, okay, it's now the responsibility of the Kohen, okay, to help do Hanifa, okay? Now, question comes up, Art Stroll raises it. The question is, how can the Kohen help her do this? He can't put his hands on her hands underneath the klisharis, okay? He can't put a cloth between her hands and his hands, Okay, so the art scroll is going to suggest either one of two ways. Either you get an old Kohen, okay, who the issue is not going to be a problem for him to have contact with her hands, okay, or you get a rather new, a new young Kohen, okay, what? Okay, to do it. That's what the art scroll suggests. Okay, that it doesn't become the Gemara's question. The Gemara's question is more, okay, the issue of at what point is the order of going to happen here between of what goes on, the whole procedure. Okay, that's going to be, I believe, what the Gemara's main concern becomes. Okay, Ruvain, you comfortable?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. So what happens? Haya notel et minchata mitoch kfifa mitzri. Okay. Now, notice it doesn't say who takes it. Okay.
It's
The
talking about the husband.
Okay. Rashi claims it's the husband, and
Right.
that's what Art Scroll is going to go by. Okay. I believe it's Meiri and others who claim it's not the husband, it's the Kohen. Anyway.
No, the Kohen wouldn't take it until it's in a Klishoris. I mean,
I understand it. I'm just telling you what the other
okay,
parts.
all right.
Okay. In either
Okay.
case, it now is transferred from the palm container to a Klishoris. Okay,
Right.
that's my point. Right? V'notna l'toch Klishoris. Here it is. What happens? V'notna al yada. Okay, and it's now the Klishoris is put into her hands. Okay, v'kohen maniach yado mitachteha. Okay, he puts his hands. I'm going to simply translate below hers. Okay, which could mean that his hands don't touch hers. In other words, if the Klishoris is large enough, okay, think of a large bowl for a moment. I don't have anything else to show you, but I'm going to use this tomorrow. If she's holding it, she could hold it at the ends, okay, around the rim, and he could hold it from underneath. Okay? What? It's not, well, that depends. It's under her hands. That's why Art Scroll has to go into that discussion of Nagia. Okay, exactly. That's the point. Okay, that's why I'm only saying if you don't say that he has to have contact, then the only other way I could think of is that she's holding the Klishoris by the rim and he holding it underneath. But
That's what Art Scroll suggests, that
Right.
the Kohen is holding it underneath, not touching her hands, but holding the Kli farther down below, not touching her hands.
Moving, understand it.
Understand. Mean also instead of her hands, in other words, he's holding
No,
up most.
no, can't
Under
be
her.
instead of, because normal practice of the Hanifa for the Mincha is that the individual as well as the Kohen. That's the point.
So they
Okay.
both have to waive it.
Okay, exactly. Okay, that's the point.
I'm
Okay,
saying that they both waive it, but mitachas might mean that he carries most of it.
well, the implication is, as Avrami has pointed out, okay, other Meforshim have a problem with it. That's why Art Scroll had to go into the discussion of how could there be contact. Okay, and that's why I'm suggesting
Right.
the only other way. Okay,
Our scroll suggests, though, that the fact that it's for a very short period of time, even if his hands were directly underneath hers and touching hers, it would not be a problem.
Right.
because it's for such a short period of time, we're not afraid that the Kohen would have any such thoughts.
Let's, okay, that, in any case, the point is, okay, that isn't the Mishnah simply cites that, but, and the Mepharshim have to deal with it, but we don't see that that's the discussion in the Gemara. Okay, I just want us to be aware of that, okay? Umanifa, and they waive it, all right? What happens? Hey nif, it's waived. Vehigish kametz vehiktir. Okay, then higish, I'm going to say, is they bring it forward to the Mizbeach. Okay, v'kametz vehiktir. And he does, the Kohen does a kamitza, and then he offers it, right? V'hashar ne'achal kohanim, says the Mishnah. And the remainder of that meal, of that grain in that particular, right? Klishares, right? The remainder that's there can then be eaten by the other Kohanim. Okay?
You have to bring a mincha.
Okay, that is part of the process. Okay, right? We may see the Gemara addressing that question. Okay, Hayamashke. All right, now here's where we begin to get the whole issue that the Gemara, I think, is primarily concerned. Hayamashke. How do you want to translate? He gives her to drink. Okay? Ve'achar kach makriv et haminchata. And afterwards offers the her mincha. So according to this part of the Mishnah, okay, she drinks, it would appear that she drinks and then they offer the mincha. That's what it would appear to be. Okay?
Or just before he said we took it and burnt it.
Okay? That's going to be why the Gemara is going to have a big problem here. Okay?
What about the Shem Hashem?
She's okay. Rabbi Shimon Omer says, Rabbi Shimon, hold on a second. He says, if that's what Tanakama says, she drinks and then they offer the mincha. Rabbi Shimon says, Makriv et minchata, v'achar kach haya mashke. That the Kohen offers the mincha first and then gives her to drink. Okay, so we're going to begin to see here a machloket clearly on the order. Why? Shnei Amar. So the Gemara wants us, the Mishnah wants to try to clarify, right? V'achar yishka et ha'isha et hamayim. Why? Because we have a pasuk that clearly says, right? And afterwards she drinks, right? He makes her drink, makes the woman drink the water. Okay, now what's the...
Is the mincha offered before the cup is mixed or after? It would seem the last thing would be the cup mixed with the water right before she drank,
Right.
and not interpose with the.
Because or else, what is the Kohen taking the thing out for?
Okay,
And we don't want her to drink.
we don't, first of all, we don't know whether it's the same Kohen, right? That's there with the mincha versus another Kohen that took the vial, went into the Beis HaMikdash, got the stuff and bring it out. We don't know if it's for sure that it's the same Kohen that did everything.
So it's the same vial as the mincha that she drinks?
No, the vial is the container of the liquid. Okay, that's the vial. Okay, so that, for all I know, that could have been a separate Kohen. Okay, I don't know that. Text doesn't tell me.
Correct me if I'm wrong. There are two things. We don't want the name of Hashem erased.
Right,
We want to avoid that
correct.
at all costs unless we have to. And we don't want her to drink.
No, we don't. It would be preferable if she
Right.
didn't have.
Right.
I'm not saying we don't want her to drink. She can choose not to drink.
Right.
We're going to get into that issue later on too.
Okay.
What's the reason that she might
So we.
be hesitant to
We
drink?
erase the name of Hashem before we know whether she's gonna drink or not.
That seems problematic.
That's problematic. Exactly. Okay. All right. So what happens? So Rabbi Shimon is disagreeing with the order. He claims the mincha came first and then they drink. Right? Based on what? Based on a pasuk that says, "Vachar yishke et ha'isha et haman." Okay. Further discussion in the Mishnah. Im hishka v'achar kach ekriv et minchata k'sheira. Still Rabbi Shimon. But if she drank first and afterwards they offered the mincha, it is valid. Okay. So in a sense, Rabbi Shimon is flexible on the order. He would prefer, okay, what? Right. He would prefer, okay, that what? That the mincha is done first and then the drinking.
How long does it take for it to take effect with the stomach? No?
Okay. It should be fairly soon, I would think. Okay.
I think the Gemara talks about that she had some certain zechusim.
That we're going to get to. Ultimately, we get to that too, right? But I don't think we're going to get to that today necessarily. Okay, so I want to just again come back to the point that the hand business is not the key issue that the Gemara is going to deal with, even though Mefarshim do try to discuss it. The issue the Gemara is going to focus on is this order, okay, of what's the order? Is it mincha then drink or drink then mincha? Okay, now, Rabbi Elazar, the Rabbi Yoshaya did Dare. Says Rabbi Elazar to Rabbi Yoshia of his generation, his contemporary. Why does the Gemara include that? Art Scroll points out very correctly here that there was a prior Rabbi Yoshia, okay, who was generations earlier. Doesn't want you to get mixed up. Okay. Lo tetav acha ad shedemafreshet lahalta milta. Don't sit down on your feet. In other words, don't take a seat, so to speak, even if they sat on the floor. Okay, until you explain this entire process. Okay. First of all, now come to your question. Right? Minayin leminchat sota sheteuna. How do we know that the mincha offering of a sota requires us to do the wave? Okay.
The normal mincha offering require wave.
Yeah. Okay. Minalan, what's the basis? Okay. So now we see what happens. A further question. Behenif kativ bashem beba'alim minalan. Right? Behenif. What? That's right. I'm sorry. Behenif kativ ba. Okay. Right? What happens? Beba'alim minalan. What he's asking, in a sense, is where is it written that hanafa on the part of the owner, and in this case, the woman, okay, where is the basis for that?
Because the pasuk only says Beherim is the Kohen. The Kohen that waves it. So that's the Gemara's question. The pasuk clearly says Beherim as the Kohen. The Kohen waves it. So that's the Gemara's question, but Balaam and Owen.
Okay, thank you for bringing that point up, Ruben.
How do they wave it? Over the head?
No. Front, it's either up, down, right, and left, or front, back, right, and something like that.
Right. The Gemara is going to talk about that. There's a mission further on that talks about that.
I would expect. Okay.
What the Muslim is asking, the basic question was, where do you know that there has to be a tmufa?
Right.
And his answer was, what do you mean? It says in the pasuk, behemoth.
Right.
So that's not a question.
Right, but that adds to Ruben's comment that from a pasuk you see it would appear that only the Kohen does it,
And that wasn't his question. There
But
was a
it's the
point that
fact-
He says, how do you know you have to do it?
Right, at all.
He said, it
Okay.
says in the pasuk you have to do it.
Right.
So the next
Ve'enif kativ ba, beba'alim minalan. You want to read it that way?
Yeah, yeah. So now he went to the next question.
Okay.
How do we know?
All right. So that's a little different than, that's how, your text, that's how they want to read it. What?
Our school has like.
Okay. Acha yad mishlami. Okay, we do a gezerah shava on the word yad from shlami. Kativ hacha, it's written here. V'lakacha kohen miyad ha'isha, that right, regarding the sota, all right, that he takes it from the hand of the woman. Kativ hatam, and it's written there in regards to shlomim, yadav to Vienna, okay, that the hands will bring it. Makan kohen, aflahalan kohen. So here, since it's the kohen, there too it's the kohen. Umalahalan ba'alim, afkan ba'alim. So here, there it's the owner. So here too it's the haketzad. How is it then to be done? Okay, maniach yado tachet yedei haba'alim umanif. He puts his hand under the hands of the owner, okay, and it's waved.
Why do they call her owner?
Okay, because we're talking about somebody else who brings a mincha. They're the owner of that mincha. Okay, so in this case, since she's the one who's bringing it, she's considered the owner in general, right?
But now it says mamish under her hand.
Okay, tachat yedei haba'alim. It doesn't say under her hand.
She's the baal.
She's the bottom on this.
That's why now we understand why Mefarshim later get into this whole discussion, okay, that we pointed out earlier when we looked at the Mishnah. Okay, all right. So now we come back now to the next part of our Mishnah. Heinif, it's waved. V'higish, okay, and they approach the Mizbeah. Kametz v'chulei, and then they go through the kamitza and so on. Hayamashke, make her drink. V'achar kach makrivet minchata, and afterwards, okay, they would offer the mincha. Now, this part of the Mishnah is a little problematic, because are we saying that they would do the kamitza and then have a drink, and he's got that palm full of grain in his hand, he's waiting for her to drink, and then he's going to throw it on the mizbeah, right? So now we understand why, just logically, okay, as an act, it would already give us problems. Ha-hakrava, says the Gemara. It's already been offered. Okay, in other words, doesn't he do the kamitza, put it on the mizbeach immediately? And doesn't that make sense why she should be drinking after that?
If he's holding the kamitza and she doesn't want to drink, what does he do with the kamitza?
Aha, so that's another problem. Hachi kamar, this is what we mean to say. Seder menachot ketzad. What is the normal order of a mincha process? Heinif, okay, they wave. V'higish, they approach the mizbeach. Kametz v'hiktir, he does the kamitza, right? Takes the palmful and he offers it, right? V'hashar ne'echal kohanim, and the rest is then eaten by the kohanim, right? Ubahashka'a gufa pligi, Rabbi Shimon v'Rabbanan, and it's in regards to when she drinks. That's where the argument, that itself is where the argument is between Rabbi Shimon and the rabbis. The Rabbanan Savrei, because the rabbis of the opinion, mashke v'achar kach makrivet minchata, that they give her to drink, and afterwards they offer the mincha. The Rabbi Shimon Savar makriv et minchata v'achar kach mashke. And Rabbi Shimon is saying, no, they offer the mincha first, and then she drinks. Why? Shnei Amar, because the pasuk then says later on, v'achar yishkat, and after, okay, it's drunk. Okay, let's go on now. Another part from our Mishnah. V'im hishka, v'achar kach ekriv et minchata kshera. This was Rabbi, as Avrami said, this was the b'di'evid on the part of Rabbi Shimon. Okay, if it was in the opposite order that he really wanted it, okay, what's this case that he said it was valid? Let's go on top of the next Amud. Tanu Rabban, says the Braita, v'hishka, and gave her to drink. Ma Talmud Loma. What is it telling it, teaching us? V'halok kvar ne'emar v'hishka. But hasn't it already said he gave her to drink? She'im nimcha, and here's your point, Heshi. Okay, she'im nimchaka Megillah, because if they had erased the scroll, the divine name, va'omeret, and she says, Eini shota, I don't want to drink. What do? Arin ota umashkin ota ba'al parcha. I'm going to translate ma'ararin here. Actually, it means they make her gargle. Okay, but I think coerce is a good translation. Okay, they coerce her. Okay, to drink it even against her will. Divrei Rabbi Akiva. That's the view of Rabbi Akiva. Okay, but what happens for Rabbi Shimon Omer? V'achar yishkeh. He says, but it says after she drank. Ma Talmud Loma. What is it trying to teach us here then? Right? V'halok kvar ne'emar v'hishka. But hasn't it already said he gave her to drink? Okay. Ela la'achar kol ma'asim kulan hamorim lamala. But rather, maybe it's after all of the things that we talked about above. Right? So what happens? Gemara goes on. Magid shlosha devarim ba. We say that there are three things that hold up the process, delay. In other words, they don't render it a valid process. One, okay, ad shalav hakometz, until the Kohen does the kamitza. All right. Second, shalom nimcha, okay, until the document has not been erased, the erasure of the scroll. And the third, va'ad shalo tikabel aleha shvuah, she does not accept the oath. Remember, we said we had the whole discussion when she says amen. One we said was for the oath, and one we said was for the curse. Okay, right. So that was one example, right? So
And
now,
the oath is right to help them.
exactly from the
So obviously.
that's
it's
part
not
of the
erased.
script.
To live.
Okay, so what happens? So now Gemara wants to clarify each of these three items, okay, that could be ma'akev, the process of sota examination.
How can they say that they force her to drink if she doesn't want to? Obviously, she's guilty.
Oh, the Gemara is going to tell us that. Okay, hold on a second. Good question. The Gemara is going to give us specifics on that and just a little further down the okay? All right, so what happens? Ad shelo karev hakometz. If we say that that's one aspect that could be ma'akev, Rabbi Shimon l'tamei da'amar. Rabbi Shimon, according to his reasoning, says as follows. That's why he says, makriv et minchata, that they offer the mincha, v'yachar kach mashkeh, and afterwards they give her to drink. Ad shalonim, okay, so that's part of his rationale. Secondly, the second ma'akev, ad shalonim chaka megillah, until it is erased from the scroll. Ella, mai mashkela. So what do we mean then when we say he gives her to drink? Amar Rav Ashi, says Rav Ashi, lo nitzrecha l'sheri shuma nikar. Okay, that's only necessary because we're concerned about any imprint on the document. Okay? In other words, it could be that the ink itself has come off, but you could still see, okay, the form of the letter somehow.
Some drinking, believing that's.
Right. Okay. A third example, ad shelo tikabel aleh shavua, until she doesn't accept, okay, the oath. Mishtahu delo shatya, if she drinks or she doesn't drink. What does it mean there? Ha michtav katvela, but it's already in a sense been written for her. Va'amar Rava, and doesn't Rava say in the following? Migilat sotah shekadva kodem shetikabel aleha shvua, that if the scroll of the sotah was written before she had accepted upon herself the vow, all right, the oath, I'm sorry, lo asad velo klum. It's like she did nothing. Okay, so what is the purpose of that? Kedei nasva.
Nazma.
Right, that's the point. Right, it is to, right. There is no purpose.
No purpose.
Right, but my kamiflige. Then what are we arguing about? Asks the Gemara. Tlata karai kative. There are three, and here I'm going to not say psukim, but three places where the phrase give to drink are written in three different psukim. So we understand it a little more smoothly. One, vahishka kama. Okay, once it says gives her to drink. Okay. Now we understood that to mean, okay, she's actually drinking. Okay, but you could understand it as he simply presents her the vial. Okay, but I only want to point out, so that's the first case. Second, the echad yishkeh. In another pasuk, it says yishkeh. Right.
After she drinks.
Oh, wait, we'll get to that. Vihishka batra. And then in the third case, we have it all, certainly past tense, she has drunk. Okay? Rabbanan Savre, and the rabbis hold Vihishka, where it says the third time has given her to drink, right? Kama the gufo. Vihishka kama. I was right. I'm sorry. You're right. The Vihishka, the first time it says Vihishka gives her to drink, legufo, that is for the act itself. Okay? Shemashka v'achar kach makriv et minchata, that they make her drink, and afterwards they make the offering of the mincha. V'achar yishka, and afterwards where it says yishka, mebayele l'sharimusho nikar, that is needed the second time, okay, because we're concerned about the imprint of the letters, okay, if they're recognizable.
So they would make sure to get the imprints off and make her drink again.
Right? Vihishka, and when it says batra the third time, she'im nimchaka Megillah, that if they erased, right, the Megillah, the writing on the Megillah, v'omeret eini shota, and she says, I refuse to drink, me'arein ota umashke ota ba'al korcha, they coerce her to drink, and she drinks against her will. So that was Rabbanan. Now we've got to see, how is it that Rabbi Shimon deals with these three citations? Okay, that's the next part. The Rabbi Shimon Savar, va'achar yishka, where that was, we said that was right? The second one, that one, after she is drunk, legufo, that is the time where it refers to the act. Shemakriv et minchata, that they offer the mincha, v'achar kach mashke, and afterwards they give her to drink. Vihishka kama, and the first time the first verse cites they give her to drink. She'im hishka v'achar kach hekriv et minchata. That if they gave her to drink then and afterwards offered the mincha, kshera, that's the b'di eved situation. V'hishka batra. And the third time we find the word hishka, right? She'im nimchaka megillah. That then if they erased from the scroll, and she says, Eini shota, I'm not prepared to drink. Ma'arin ota umashkin ota ba'al parcha. They coerce her and make her drink against her will. So the third example, the rabbis and Rabbi Shimon agree together. Okay? It's the first two, which is, okay, where they disagree. Okay? So what happens? V'Rabbanan. So the Gemara now goes on to try to clarify, right? V'Rabbanan b'di'eved lo patach kra. Okay? And the rabbis, okay, after the fact, okay, they don't cite a verse that they have. V'sava Rabbi Akiva. But Rabbi Akiva is of the opinion, mashkino ta ba'al korcha. Is Rabbi Akiva of the opinion that they force her to drink? Okay, against her will? Vahatanya. But aren't we taught elsewhere in another bright? Rabbi Yehuda Omer, he says, what did they do? Okay, here's your example. Okay, Omer kalbus shel barzel, metilin letoch pia. We put one translation was a hook, one was a crescent. In other words, they take a metal object and they force open her mouth to keep her mouth open. Okay? Right? She'im nimchaka megillah va'amra ini shota. Because if they had already erased and she refuses to drink, ma'arin ota umashkin ota ba'al korcha. Then they coerce her to drink it against her will. Amar Rabbi Akiva, says Rabbi Akiva, klum anu tzrichim ela lebodka. His argument is, we don't even need to go that far because the whole purpose of the drinking is to examine her, is to test her. V'halo b'duka v'omenet. If she says, I'm not drinking, what is that? It's an admission of guilt.
So she might as
Okay.
well lose the.
Right. So that's the point. Okay. That's what Rabbi Akiva is implying.
Killing her.
Okay. Ela ad shelo karev hakometz. But that could be only until they did not offer the kamitza of the meal offering. Yechola lachzor ba. At that point, she is still able to recant. Okay. Misha karev hakometz. Once they offer the kamitza, or offering, eina yechola lachzor ba. She is not able then to recant. Ulata'amech tikshe lach hi gufa. And if that's the case, then according to your reasoning, okay, this is very problematic, the whole thing. Meshekarev hakometz eina yechola lachzor ba. Because once they offer the kamitza, all right, she is not able to recant. Wait a second, says the Gemara. V'halo b'duka omenet. She's been already evaluated, examined, and it would imply that she's admitting guilt. Okay, what happens? Lo kasha. No, we may not have a problem here. Why is she saying, I'm not prepared to drink? Ha, kidakahadra ba mechamat v'tita. Maybe she is recanting out of fear. Vaha kidakahadra ba mechamat briuta. In a different situation, maybe she's recanting while she's healthy.
Maybe she doesn't want to have any more kids.
We don't know. Vahachi ka'ama. And this is what it comes to tell us. Kol mechimat briuta, if it's a situation where the woman is healthy, klal in general, klal lo shatya. Okay, here the principle is we doesn't drink. Mechamat rituta. But if it's a situation of fear, ad shalo karev hakometz, until they offer the kamitza of the meal offering, the akate lo emchok megillah, because up to that point they have not erased the divine name yet. Inami amchik megillah. But if already they've erased the name, the shalo kadin, which is not appropriate, avid, they didn't do it appropriately, right? Kohanim demachke, that the Kohanim had erased it, right? Matse hadraba, then she can come and recant. Mishikarev hakometz, once they offer the kamitza, right? What happens? The badin avid Kohanim demachke, that the Kohanim appropriately or correctly carried it out at that time, right? To erase lo matse hadraba. We find that therefore she cannot retract her statement. So tomorrow, it's a long Gemara, but we'll pick up on the top of Kaf, Kasha the Rabbi Akiva, at the Rabbi Akiva Hatam, and we'll see why. Okay? Okay. Sorry it took long, but I just felt sometimes go through it a little slower.
We have to go to work, don't you understand? You gotta
Yeah.
speed it up.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like getting smaller.
What?
This is getting smaller.
No, it's just some guys aren't back yet.
Did you start a packet or what?
All my books, almost all my books are in boxes. Okay, half the, some of the stuff from the dining room are in boxes. But we got a month yet, but it's still a lot.
You have half a decent jump on it.
We still got a lot